This video is for my middle school grammar students, and we are starting a new chapter, chapter 8. So we are on page 164 today, and we're going to be talking about phrases. And so I'm going to go through and read, starting with page 164, and then we'll do a couple of problems together to get you going today. So phrases. A phrase is a group of words that does not contain both a subject and a predicate. You have learned already about verb phrases, possessive phrases, and prepositional phrases. Every sentence includes phrases. Miss Chen's class is reading a biography about William Carey. The example above has 4 phrases underlined. Miss Chen's class is a phrase that functions as the complete subject of the sentence. Okay, so remember when we go back to the verb, separate the complete subject from the complete predicate? Well, the complete subject is a phrase. The simple predicate of the example is the verb phrase, is reading. Another phrase, a biography, acts as the direct object. About William Carey is an adjective prepositional phrase that modifies the simple direct object. Some of these phrases include words that could be subjects. One is a simple predicate, but no phrase includes both a subject and a predicate. So a phrase should never say Jim ran, right? It should not include the subject, noun, and the verb is what they're saying. Okay? A clause. A clause is a group of words that has both a subject and a predicate working together. So a phrase does not have a subject and predicate together. A clause does have a subject and predicate together. The two are kinds of clauses. An independent clause can stand alone as a sentence. It expresses a complete thought. A dependent clause is unable to stand alone as a sentence. It contains an introductory or connecting word that makes it express an incomplete thought. The word that makes a clause dependent is called a subordinating word. A dependent clause actually relies on an independent. So if I want to be independent, I can do it on my own. I don't need anyone's help, right? You guys feel that way as middle schoolers sometimes. All grown up is an independent clause. A dependent clause depends on the independent clause to make itself a sentence. Okay? Dependent clauses that are left to stand alone are sentence fragments. So let's read an example of this independent clause. William Carey obeyed God's word. Dependent clause. Although the English preachers rejected Carey's idea, do you see how that word although makes it seem like, oh, we didn't finish the sentence? Although, right? Okay, so the first example is independent because it contains a subject and a predicate pair and expresses a complete thought. The second example contains a subject and a predicate. However, it is dependent because of the word although, leaves unanswered questions. It does not express a complete thought. It cannot stand alone as a sentence. The chart below lists some common subordinating words. So if you see one of these words, it is likely that you're dealing with a dependent clause. After, although, as if, because, before, if, since, so that, then, that, though, unless, until, when, where, while. Okay, so make sure you keep an eye on that chart and you refer to it. Okay, so in summary, a phrase does not contain a subject and a predicate. A clause does contain a subject and a predicate, but there are 2 kinds of clauses. An independent clause, which can be a sentence all by itself, and a dependent clause, which has a subordinating word that makes it depend on an independent clause. Okay? So your work today is, let's see, 8.1 and 8.2. So let's do a few of both of them to get you started. Label each underlined group of words or phrase, independent clause, or dependent clause. So we're looking at what they've underlined and we're trying to say, is it a phrase, a clause, and if it's a clause, is it independent or is it dependent? The planet Mars is approximately 78 million miles farther from the sun than is Earth. Than is Earth. What do you think? I see that word than, right? And I believe I see that the than is a subordinating word. So what does that clue me into? It's a dependent clause, DC. Number 2, although Mars is more than 34 million miles from Earth, it is Earth's second closest planet. So let's read just the underlined part. Although Mars is more than 34 million miles from Earth. So I see Mars is a subject, and then is, right, gives me a verb part. So I know it's not a phrase. I know it's a clause. But I also see that word although. Okay? Doesn't it leave you hanging a little bit? It does to me. So it's a dependent clause, DC. Number 3, Mars orbits the sun. Could that be a sentence all by itself? Absolutely, it's an independent clause. Those are really the easiest ones to find, right? If I can get rid of everything else and it makes sense as a sentence all by itself, it's independent, so I see. Number 4, at 4,000 miles in diameter, okay, do we have a subject there? A predicate? Nope. We don't have both, so it's a phrase. Okay? Let's see. Mars travels in an elliptical pattern as it orbits the sun. As it orbits the sun. Well, if it could be a sentence if it was just it orbits the sun. But when we throw in that word as, it makes it a dependent clause, DC. Okay, on 8.2, you're going to be doing the same thing. So you're going to do 8.1 and 8.2, and then tomorrow, when we do this lesson, I'm going to Marco Polo you the answers to these questions so you can go back and check them. Okay, so go ahead and do the work, and then I will send you the answers tomorrow so you can check it so that you're getting understanding before we move on.